We had a whole pile of Elon tweets over the weekend, and they were plenty juicy. Strap in, folks. This is going to be a long one. Here are your Tesla tidbits for July 11th, 2016. Elon sure did have a lot to say on Twitter over the weekend. Some things were just quick missives, and others were links elsewhere that had a bit more to say. We kick off the tweet storm with probably the most significant tweet that had the least to say immediately. This was an update to the famous top-secret Tesla master plan, which he said he hoped to publish later this week. Considering that the original plan is what has led us to this point with the near release of Model 3, this is a pretty big deal. Can't wait to see the future of the company, and I suspect Solar City likely figures heavily into it. Speaking of Model 3, the consternation over the size of Model 3's trunk opening appears in Elon's mind to be solved. Twitter user @NickG_UK grabbed Elon's attention saying, quote, "But bigger trunk opening for the Model 3? That's the most important thing," end quote, in response to one of Elon's tweets. Elon responded saying, quote, "Already taken care of," end quote. Being that we're days from Elon's pencils-down design deadline for the Model 3, this isn't much of a surprise, but it is good to see that it's been addressed for those that were concerned by it. The spat with Fortune continues as they published a story Sunday regarding German authorities and their position on Autopilot. Elon references the story in one of his tweets saying, quote, "Misunderstanding of what beta means to Tesla for Autopilot, any system with less than 1 billion miles of real-world driving," end quote. The article itself lays out that Germany's Federal Office for Motor Vehicles would not have approved the use of Autopilot if it was still in a beta phase version, per German newspaper Welt am Sonntag. Elon then refers to a tech blog by Peter Diamandis, founder of XPRIZE, and in his own words, he's pissed off at the media over the misrepresentation occurring. He brings up many of the same things we've already heard from Elon regarding the lives saved by Autopilot, that we've had exactly one death, not even actually attributable to Autopilot, but nonetheless it was engaged, in the 130 million miles driven, and the fact that none of the life-saving and comparative statistics are being brought up, just the negatives. He pins the problem on fear of the unknown and what isn't understood by the average person. These same people will make efforts to shut down Autopilot, but Peter points out that rarely do regulatory bodies recognize the harm that would come from such an action. Quote, "Sure, we could shut down efforts for autonomous cars, and in so doing, continue a 33,000 annual death rate per year. But that, in IMHO, would be immoral and irresponsible. Or we can embrace the technology and drive the death rate towards zero. Technology is hard, but it's worth it." And lastly today, a little bit in the comedy department, Elon tweeted the following in reference to an Electrek article about a market research company called Pied Piper, and yes, I am understanding that this is the name of a fictional company in Silicon Valley, that ranked Tesla last in their store representatives' ability to make sales. Quote, "Tesla finishes last in being salesy. Good. Also, I can't believe there's a real Pied Piper," end quote. Electrek elaborates, saying the company sends mystery shoppers to dealers across the U.S. in several different locations for each brand to measure how well dealerships follow sales procedures, such as asking follow-up questions and ultimately asking for the sale. As any of us who've ever stepped foot into a Tesla store or know Tesla's model know, Tesla will always fail at this, since their goal is never to pressure anyone into a sale. The Pied Piper CEO, Fran O'Hagan, claimed most Tesla sales staff were more akin to museum curators than salespeople because they were knowledgeable about the product but never asked for a sale. Sounds to me like they're following Elon's vision quite nicely. You can find links to the full stories from this episode in the description of the show. If you get some value out of what you hear every day, please consider supporting the podcast at patreon.com/Tesla Tidbits. All support will go directly to the Model 3 Fund, and every bit is appreciated. Thanks to super patron John Walthour for his support, as well as first-time supporter Don Miller. You guys are awesome. And don't sweat it if you have nothing extra to kick my way. You can still show your support with positive reviews, likes, and subscriptions on your favorite media services, and by spreading the word of the show to other Tesla lovers. I almost said Tesla users. I guess they're users too. If you have questions or feedback for me, you can hit me up via email by messaging podcast@teslatidbits.com or on Twitter @TeslaTidbits. That's it for today. I know it was a long one. Glad you stuck with me. Hope to see you back here tomorrow. Until then, keep it charged and hit the road.